Welcome back to Beyond the Portfolio podcast. Tasha Preisner is someone I've been so excited to have on the show ever since we connected on LinkedIn. I saw an incredible post that she made about her new pursuit in jiu-jitsu, bringing fortified resilience in life and business, tackling fear and staying sharp, both in her field and on the mat. As a managing partner at DeMar Consulting Group, Tasha brings a rare combination of technical expertise as an enrolled agent who works directly with the IRS and serves on the Taxpayer Advocacy Panel. But what truly sets Tasha apart isn't just her impressive credentials, it's her refreshing authenticity and willingness to share how personal challenges have shaped her professional journey. I'm thrilled to dive into this one. Welcome to the podcast, Tasha. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me, John. I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to have this conversation.
Yeah, same here, you and me both. I know we went through a lot of your credentials, but I know before all the accolades, the speaker events and panels, you went out on a limb and started your own business. Could you dive back into those moments and tell us a little bit about what was driving that decision and what it felt like in those early, potentially uncertain days?
Yes, I can. So I am a person who am driven by a couple of things. I'm driven by a need to help people.
Mm.
Plus, I'm driven by mental expansion for sure. And so I had just a normal 9 to 5 job, but like a lot of people do. And I was honestly getting bored.
Mm.
And I was feeling like I was just helping one company and the employees within the company. But I felt like my skills had plateaued. I had just gotten to a level where I was just really, really good at one thing. And that was it. That was just doing the thing at the one company.
Mm.
But I wanted to help more people and I wanted to do more with my life. And I felt like there was more out there than just working a 9 to 5. So I just kind of got this itch. And so I came home one day, said, quitting my job, and I'm starting a company. And my husband, who knows kind of my crazy side, is like, okay. And so that's what I did. I quit my job and I didn't really have a great business plan at the time. It wasn't like I had developed months and months of a business plan and was just ready to do it. I
Mm.
just made some flyers on a Word document and then went door to door at my hometown and handed flyers out. Most
Oh,
of the
wow.
flyers were thrown away right in front of me. And the first
Mm.
month I made $80. I did a QuickBooks setup for one company. And that first client I still have. That was my
Wow.
legacy client, and they're still a tax client of mine. I just kind of built it from there. I got 4 clients that first year. I'm in an
Mm.
area where the trucking business is large. And
Mm.
so, fracking, when it's going massively well. And then, whenever it stops, it just stops suddenly. So I
I see.
lost some clients there, filled out some bankruptcy papers for some of those clients. There was a church that was one of my clients, and then they got a free bookkeeper from inside their church. And of course, free
Mm.
is better than paid. And so then lost all of my clients the first year, found online bookkeeping the next year, and then never looked back.
Wow. No, I mean, thank you for sharing because it does sound like a story of not only did you have a really strong support system that helped you take that leap, but as you're in the thick of it, both the ups and the downs, you have to be able to be flexible, be able to pivot from one to the next. And I also really appreciate that you still have one of those legacy clients. That is absolutely incredible. One thing I guess I'm curious about is as you've entered into your entrepreneurial journey and have done that for many years now, what is your takeaway when it comes to really building these long-lasting relationships that expand potentially more than just business and helping someone with their taxes, their bookkeeping?
Empathy,
Mhm.
empathy, and really connecting on an emotional level.
Yeah.
It's caring about them, not just about them as their money and their taxes, but them as humans.
Mm.
I've always told my team and people that I hire that you're not just accountants, but half of your job is being a therapist. And a lot of times when it comes to money, people
Mm,
don't have an outlet for their emotional stress because their
mm,
emotions are tied up with their money. And sometimes they can't talk to their significant other. And sometimes they can't really talk to their friends or their family because they're embarrassed about the situation. And maybe they're deeply in debt. Maybe they have a gambling problem. Maybe it's too high conflict with their spouse. They're always fighting with their spouse.
mm,
And so they need that person that they can talk to in a non-judgmental way, and we can be that person that is
mm,
almost an outlet for them to vent, that they can feel as their safe space. And
mm.
so there's a lot of therapy involved.
Yeah. That is something I wasn't anticipating to hear, but I could not agree more. And I've experienced your empathy firsthand. So it is really fantastic to kind of hear that that is something that not only resonates throughout what you do, the work that you do, but also the people you work with and how you show up. And I really, really love that. And I think a lot of people will gain a lot of value from that tidbit in particular. So thank you for sharing that. As we move forward, you've done the entrepreneurial journey, then you went into more partnering with DeMar Consulting Group, and as well as becoming an enrolled agent, and then being a part of the IRS Taxpayer Advocacy Panel and being a member of that. Can you walk me through a little bit of those stages in your career and how that's continues to develop?
Yes, so all of that was spurred by wanting to help more people.
Mm,
So the early stages was going from helping one business, then helping multiple businesses, but I was still limited by, as Preisner Financial Services, limited by
mm,
how many people I could help personally.
mm,
And as a solopreneur, I was only able to do what I could do.
yeah.
So whenever I started to help build DeMar Consulting Group, then it was about building systems that could employ people that could help more people.
Mm,
And that was good because now we could scale at a rate that could help more clients beyond what I could do. I could
mm,
hire qualified people. I could teach them empathy. I could make a safe place for our staff members where
mm,
it was a happy, nice, unified team of qualified people who could spread that empathy out. And now we could help even more people.
yeah.
But then we were limited by the IRS.
Yeah.
We were creating these good systems here and then sending forms out and then telling clients, I'm sorry, but we just sent your forms to a black hole.
I see.
And
Mm,
now we have to wait. And then
gotcha.
as the IRS became more chaotic, which it has, the IRS has had 5 commissioners in the last few months, whereas a commissioner position used to be a 5-year job. It's turned even more chaotic. I mean, their staffing has been cut, their workload has gone up.
Mm,
And so it's been even more of a dumpster fire than usual.
mm,
And then that started me thinking whenever a newsletter came out saying we have open positions for the Taxpayer Advocacy Panel, which is a
mm.
civilian panel. I'm not paid by the IRS. This is all volunteer. And
Awesome.
it's 200 to 300 hours per year extra on top of what I'm doing as my current job that I'm paid for.
Gosh, where do you find the
And
time? My goodness.
where do I find the time? I don't. I just squeeze it. It's people ask me that all the time. Where do we find the time? I don't know. We don't have much of a personal life. That's how
Yeah.
that's how we find time. We don't have TV. I mean, that's how we find time. We don't really do much. I mean, martial arts, that little bit of time that I do martial arts, that's about the only free time I get in my life.
Gotcha. No, I am really excited to get into that. soon in the next bit. And,
Yes,
just one thank you. I didn't realize how much of a effort volunteering aspect
it
of that
is.
was.
It's a
So
lot of
really
volunteering,
appreciate it.
and that's how I got into it. Was I
Mhm.
wanted to make an even larger impact into my clients' lives by seeing if we could fix some of those problems within the IRS so that we weren't just sending things into a black hole. If we could fix
Mhm.
that, then we could help even more people and maybe even taxpayers that aren't my clients, that are everybody
Wow.
else's clients as well.
No, that's fantastic. And one quick question actually, how many people are on the Taxpayer Advocacy Panel in that more volunteer aspect of things, just to get a sense of the
This
scale
year
of
it's 60
people?
people.
60, you
Um,
said?
60.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
from representatives from each state,
Mm.
and a few from international. It's been 70 up to 75 in the past, but this year it's 60.
Wow.
I
Okay.
believe four
Fantastic.
from
That's
Texas.
okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. No, definitely good to know, just to again better understand the scale of this and how many people are volunteering so many hours to really try to make an impact and push the needle forward a little bit. And uh,
Yes.
diving a bit deeper into this, this is a rare dual type of role that you're taking on. Not only are you helping individuals and businesses with their bookkeeping, taxes, and financial services of similar nature, you're also within it trying to help affect change. But as you've been in both of these roles now, what's like a surprising realization you've kind of come to, maybe something that the common person might not realize or find surprising as well?
The IRS is really behind in their technology. So I'm on the communications panel, which
Mm,
is the technology panel. And I was surprised whenever I sat in a conference by Commissioner Warfold last year. He's actually one of the younger commissioners that the IRS has had. He was really big in pushing the technology forward. That when
mm.
he started in the IRS, which wasn't actually too long ago, they were still transferring data from some of their computers using 3.5 floppy drives.
Floppy drives. Floppy drives still in
This
2025 or 2024 or what when this happened? What?
probably still around 2020 is at least.
Oh my goodness. Floppy drives. That I volunteered at a high school, was it 5 years ago? And the students didn't even know what those were. So that
Yes,
just kind of shows
how
that's
old it
that's
is.
wild. That's wild.
Yeah, this is really dinosaur technology. I mean,
Mm,
and the fact that some of their databases are still using COBOL in programming, and COBOL was from the 1950s and stopped being taught in high school in the 1990s. This it's really fragile programming,
mm,
but it's just that their funding and the way the funding is created in Congress, that they're given funding to upgrade their technology, then the funding is
mm,
taken away before they're actually finished upgrading. And the funding is like a roller coaster. And so before any project gets actually accomplished, it's just kind of taken away.
wow.
And
Mm,
the way the technology moves so quickly that every time they get new funding, they have to start over again.
mm,
And so it's always like they're having to just duct tape their technology together. And then during COVID, they had to send all their programmers home. They had to send almost all their people home.
mm.
And it almost just made them start over again. And it's just not good. They were
Yeah.
given funding at one point back 2 years ago for 10 years worth of funding, but now that their funding has been cut yet again, that their strategic operating plan that had 10 years of funding has been put on hold.
Wow.
So again, we just don't know if they're going to ever get into current technology, but we're trying. We are very much
Yeah.
trying. We're trying to improve their chat bot. That's a project I'm working on. I'm working on trying to improve their online account systems. If I could wave my magic wand, your form would show up in your account and you could actually see a status update on it rather
Mm.
than it just dropping into a black hole and you have to call in 100 times and not actually speak to a human.
Yeah.
And because that's frustrating. I know how frustrating it is. I get frustrated on that myself, and that's why I'm
Mm.
trying to fix it. That's like 90% of my phone calls to the IRS. And that's what jams up all the phone lines. And
Mm.
so, if we could do more self service options of being able to see what we need in our online accounts, we wouldn't have to jam up all the phone lines all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
those are just some of the projects I'm personally working on in hopes of improving all of our lives for the better.
Yeah, no, I mean, thank you. If we can get away from floppy drives, I think that would be a huge plus. Diving a little bit more into technology and innovation and change. And I know a lot with AI is happening in the past several years, especially this past year. There's been a huge boom with that. And it's interesting because it sounds like you have to do this delicate dance where you need to complete projects in a timely manner with the funding before the funding runs out or is taken away. And so there's this balance between speed and efficiency and effectiveness. So how do you kind of look at technology, emerging tech, AI? What are your thoughts on that and how it might apply to the work that you're doing, especially as it relates to the IRS?
I embrace technology wholeheartedly. I've
Mm.
always been on the cutting edge of it. Sometimes I like to call it even the bleeding edge of it, because I remember the olden days when I was sending forms into the IRS that I had to type up on a typewriter. And it was the carbon copy papers that would have to
Mm.
bleed all the way through, and we had to
Right,
get these
right.
from Office Depot, and if you made one mistake, you had to throw the whole thing away and start over. And then I went through all the different dot matrix printers,
Mm.
and the laser printer was just amazing to me because I could run payroll in 30 minutes instead of 4 hours. And then I adopted QuickBooks Online when it first came out, and that was
Mm.
mind blowing to me. I didn't get an email address until my senior year of high school, and so I remember seeing all these different phases go
Mm.
through in accounting. And I know some accountants that are leery of technology. A lot of
Mm.
accountants are. They want to do things as they were taught, the old ways.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am one that's mentally likes to pivot,
Mm.
and I like to adopt new things. I love AI and
Mm.
I love the idea of it. I know it's not perfect, it's not there yet, and I want to
Right.
push it to its perfection. And
Mhm.
I've been even working with multitudes of companies to push it to its perfection as subject matter expert in a number
Oh,
of
love
helps.
that.
They just kind of came out of the woodworks last year and was like, please help us with some of these. And I was like, sure, because I wanted to push AI forward in the tax field.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so we want to implement some of these in possibly the chat bots,
Mm.
and put maybe an AI voice on it, and then link it from the chat bot to the telephone line so that people can
Mm.
get tax help through calling on the phones possibly. Those are
Yeah.
just some ideas that we've been batting around, because they used to be able to call into a line and talk to a human to get tax just like tax law ideas, but
Yeah.
they don't have the human element because they don't have enough people to do that. But you could
Right,
do that
right.
with AI, and it would cost less. It would be a reasonable thing to do. The thing is hallucinations. So it's just not quite
Yeah.
perfect there. We work with AI in my department. There are a number of research tools that are just getting better and better all the time. The one that I work with that I helped build was Accordance, and it's the only one that I'll use just because the hallucinations are a lot lower. It's good. It's like Chat GPT, just tax based. And
Mhm, mhm.
there's just more and more of those coming out all the time. But it's the only one that I'll let my people use because it's more reliable. I would see AI as it's the next step for accounting. My accountants will spend hundreds of hours downloading transactions, categorizing them, and
Mm.
reconciling them with bank statements. In the future, in the near future, that will be
Yeah.
done with AI.
Wow. 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 Wow.
And the firms that implement that will be the firms that succeed. The firms that don't will be the ones that will be left behind.
Yeah. No, I mean, thank you. It is really encouraging to hear how forward thinking you are in terms of belief and the hope in AI and how that's enacting change, not only in the future, but also literally right now and how you're seeing it being implemented. That's fantastic. And I think there's some great hope to come with the innovations that we're seeing. One thing I'm curious about is, have you seen a positive reaction to the implementation of AI in the work that you're doing, especially as it relates to the IRS, as well as just the day-to-day that you're seeing with your own team?
I would say that my team, for the most part, likes
Mm.
it. The IRS, they like the idea of it,
Hmm.
but there are some holdouts. There's some fear, there's some funding that is restrictive with it,
Mm.
and there's problems with, do we outsource it? Do we have the resources to do it in-house? Do we have the resources to actually pull this off?
Yeah.
And so that becomes problematic with the IRS, and especially right now when they have low resources. With a private company like ours, we can easily say, if we want to do this, we can say, yes, we'll put the resources to it. But when it comes to the IRS, we have to look at budgeting issues. What are your resources? Does it match what you have going on? And then if we outsource it, who are your vendors that you're allowed to outsource it to, and can they handle it? And so there's just a lot of limitations, and it's just slower to work with because it's government.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. No, that makes total sense. But at the very least, I'm glad that you're at the forefront trying to lead that charge, lead that push, to help make that change. And so that is fantastic to hear and fantastic to see. We just went through a huge, wide variety of different topics. Really appreciate your time. And again, want to emphasize the amount of volunteering time that you're putting into this idea, this topic, this area of your expertise that really means a lot to you, where it can really enact and impact so many people on so many different levels. So just want to take a quick second to say thank you. It's a lot of work. Like Tasha, you're doing the good work and having a great time with it, it seems, as well. The last thing I'd love to touch on is how we initially connected. You started posting more of your personal journey, perhaps, and I really resonate with the jiu-jitsu one that you did in particular. I pick up a different amount of martial arts and different hobbies and activities that really help me go through the day-to-day and really provide some clarity. So would love to hear not only what it's been like for you to start pursuing jujitsu, but at the same time, what it's been like sharing more of your personal story out into the world, into the social media, especially on LinkedIn.
Yes. So I did want to bring my white belt. I'm
Amazing. I love that. Yes, 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 yes.
sometimes I have to prove that I do it. I don't look like someone who does martial arts,
Right.
especially whenever I'm out and about in public and I'm
Mm.
loaded with bruises. I look more like a domestic violence victim than anything
Oh,
else.
oh, goodness. No, not at all. Not at all.
So occasionally I have to show people pictures on my phone of, no, no, I really actually do martial arts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They call it
um,
grappling and rolling, right?
a
Rolling
lot of
with
grappling and rolling.
okay.
So sometimes you can actually see finger marks on my skin, especially in the summertime, when I wear shorts and sleeveless shirts.
Mm.
You can see lots of bruises
Okay.
because it gets pretty intense.
Mm. Yeah.
Especially whenever I roll with people who are much stronger than I am, which is pretty much everybody at my gym.
Well, the tenacity to go into that gym back and forth and keep showing up on the mat, I feel like it's half the battle.
It is. And at my age, I have just injury on top of injury. It's
Mm.
before I even heal from one injury, I have yet another injury. And so some days I'm literally just limping out onto the mats and saying, let's roll some more just because I enjoy
I
it.
love that.
It's been good for me for a lot of ways. It's been good for my mentality. It's taught
Mm.
me not to panic in bad situations because I'm constantly put into bad physical situations,
Mm.
whereas maybe I'm pinned down, maybe I'm under some sort of chokehold, or they have my arm in an arm bar
Mm.
or an Americana or something that's painful. And I have to calm my brain with breathing techniques.
Mm.
I have to get into a mentally calm state and then find a solution out.
I see.
And that resonates very well with everything else in life. I
Mm.
mean, a lot of being an adult and running a business and running a family and just life in general is being in
Mm.
bad situations and being able to breathe, take a moment, and find a
Mm.
solution, and then find your way back out again.
Yeah. Wow.
And whether it might be a disgruntled client or a wound up employee or whatever it is, it's just something bad or a bad technical issue that you're dealing with, whatever is causing you mental frustration. There's a lot of things that just cause in a day that cause mental frustration, and you just
Mm.
want to just lose it, and you just have to find your center, take a deep breath.
Mm.
And my coach always says to take what your opponent gives you. Your opponent's always going to give
Mm.
you something. They're going to give you their arm, they're going to give you their leg, they're going to give you something. Whatever
Ah.
they give you, use it. And so it can be a mistake by the IRS, like sometimes, or a mistake somewhere. Like sometimes the client will think they're an S corp, and then come to
Mm.
find out they're a C corp or they're a partnership. And so
I see.
they're upset or they're disappointed and they're not what they think they are.
Mm.
And so then I'm having to look at it and say, okay, how can we use this new problem as an
Mm.
advantage now?
Wow. Yeah.
How can we use the C Corp to actually lower their taxes? How can we use the partnership to lower their taxes? And so we just then pivot it as they think this is a problem. And now we can use this as a new tool as to their advantage instead of a
Mm.
problem. And we just create a new tax plan around the new problem and make it the solution.
Wow.
So my opponent gave me their arm, and now I'm going to attack the arm instead, even though I
Mm.
wanted the leg.
Okay.
So
I
that's
knew
what
that.
gives
Yeah.
me the new mindset on that.
Oh, fantastic. No, that's really great to kind of hear from your perspective. I've never really grappled or been on the mat before in this sense. And so the fact that you're able to relate that not only to, the actual competition, the actual matches, but also just in life in general, it's like, again, you got to be flexible, be able to pivot and don't resist so much of what is given to you. If it is given to you, embrace that and see what you can do with that, as opposed to, sticking to your rigid plan originally, tackling one thing. So I love that. And I realized that you had a competition recently. How did that go? Are you open
I
to sharing how
did.
that went?
It was a really good experience. I went with
Mm.
my whole gym, Mercy. We had a good learning experience. We didn't exactly win,
Mm.
call it a win, because we learned.
Yeah,
It was
love
my
that.
first competition. I had never been in a competition. I had a feeling I was going to lose. It was brutal, but I kind of liked the brutal. They were fighting at 200%. I was going in injured. I had an injured
Mm.
ankle already, and my ankle
Okay.
was swollen. And so I was just trying not to limp onto the mat.
Yeah.
But
No. Right.
The
Yeah.
opponents were about 10 years younger than I was, and they were fast. And so I tried to hold my own as long as I could, but I got taken out by an Ezekiel choke on one, and then the other one armbarred me, and I got taken out on an armbar for the other. But it was a wonderful learning experience. I'm slightly addicted, and I want to do it again as soon as I can. And
Fantastic.
I'm training hard so that next time I plan to win.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And, it seems like you have such a positive outlook on it. A great experience nonetheless. We started talking about empathy, the work that you're doing, the impact that you're attempting to make with innovation and technology, and then ending on resilience. If there was one thing that you'd want to leave with anyone that's listening, that's part of your story, it could be about the work that you do, it could be about outside of that. What is the one thing that you'd like to share with the people?
Uh, so I would say that as far as taxes and wealth building goes, a lot of people they try to lower their taxes just too much. And
Mm.
I know that's weird to say, but you can cut off your nose to spite your face sometimes, if that makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
Um, yes. So we do have a certified financial planner on our team, and her and I
Mm,
work very closely together, and she focuses on wealth building. And one of the things that we work together on is trying to find a sweet spot between lowering taxes and long
mm,
term wealth growth.
I see.
And that is one of the mistakes that a lot of people make in their taxes is they're
Mm,
so focused on trying to lower their taxes in the short run that they forget about wealth building in the long run.
I see.
And those are often two different paths.
Okay.
And so we try to marry those paths together by trying to find kind of a sweet spot in the middle where you can lower your taxes as much as possible while still
Mm,
building wealth in the future. So that's one of the just quick and easy financial tips that I try to
mm,
give people is to holistically look at what your goals are long term and not just short term goals of lowering your taxes because you can hurt
mm.
yourself in the future for that.
I see.
But
Fantastic.
other than that, if you're a financial planner, if you're a tax professional and you're looking at building long-term future relationship with your clients, I would
Mm,
say then connect with them on the heart.
mm,
Open yourself up and be vulnerable and have heart to hearts with them and
yeah.
don't just assume you know what's going on with them, but
Mm,
really listen to what they want. That's one of the things that the clients tell me all the time is that their prior CPAs, their prior financial people aren't listening to them
mm,
and that they want somebody who listens. And so
yeah.
I would say listen with your heart and and try to connect with them heart to heart.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, that resonates with me a lot, and I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of others as well. As we wrap up here, again, thank you so much for your time. Last thing is, if people want to find you, potentially work with you, your services, learn more about your journey, where's the best place that they can find you after they listen?
I would suggest 3 places.
Hmm.
You can find me on LinkedIn,
Hmm.
and that's a great place to find me if you want me to help you with your taxes, with your personal tax problems, like tax resolution problems. You can
Hmm.
find me at demarconsultinggroup.com.
Hmm.
And if you just have a tax systemic problem that you would like to complain about the IRS, you can also go to improveirs.org
Mm.
and you can put a complaint in there as well. And I'm on the screening committee and I will definitely see that there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Tasha. Really appreciate it, and hope to have you on again at some point.
That'd be wonderful.